Kale Ryder had never felt so small in his life. The space station hung above the violet clouds of Violia like a jewel, massive and humming with life. Thousands of beings from dozens of star systems moved through its corridors, their shapes and features more alien than anything he had ever imagined. Some had chitinous armor that gleamed like polished metal, others floated gracefully with translucent wings, and a few radiated energy in ways that made him squint. Earth had sent him here as part of an elite training program, but even among the most extraordinary of beings, Kale felt like a single human in a sea of titans. He adjusted his uniform, checking the insignia that marked him as a recruit, and swallowed his nervousness. The term recruit made him feel ordinary, but in reality, no one yet knew the truth. Hidden beneath his calm exterior were subtle enhancements, reflexes sharpened beyond natural human limits, sensory awareness finely tuned, and a mind that could calculate probabilities faster than most aliens he would meet. Yet he could not reveal this. Not yet. Kale stepped into the main atrium of the station and froze for a moment. The place was vast, a cathedral of technology and alien culture. Holographic displays floated midair showing maps of planets and stellar systems. Alien trainees sparred in simulation arenas, some using energy weapons, others relying on brute strength or psychic abilities. The sounds, smells, and movements overwhelmed his senses, but he kept his focus steady. A soft hum announced the arrival of a hover platform approaching him. On it stood Alice Viral, the Zelari princess. Her body was sleek, covered in polished scales that shimmered in the station's lights. Her eyes, large and golden, scanned Kale with an expression of mild amusement. She had been assigned to mentor him, though the thought seemed ridiculous. A human recruit. Her species was renowned for strength, speed, and cunning. Why would she waste her time on a fragile human? "Ah, the recruit from Earth," she said, her voice musical but laced with condescension. "I hope you are prepared to struggle. Our training is not for the weak." Small, clumsy, and likely to fall behind the others, Kale knew better than to let her see the truth in his eyes. He had spent years learning patience and observation. Showing strength too soon could make him a target, or worse, ruin the subtle advantage he carried. The first week was grueling. Kale followed Alice through drills, sparring sessions, and tactical exercises designed to push recruits to the limit. The alien recruits moved with a grace and precision that made him dizzy at first. The Othrians, massive brutes with arms like tree trunks, smashed training dummies without effort. The telepathic Virelians anticipated every move, forcing Kale to adjust constantly. Yet he adapted. He noted patterns, memorized routines, and found moments where alien arrogance made gaps in their defenses. Alice watched him quietly, shaking her head in disbelief. "He'll never keep up," she whispered to another trainer. "I can't believe he made it this far." He was learning, but he was also preparing. One afternoon, Kale found himself in a large combat arena, the kind that simulated dangerous alien terrains. Alice was demonstrating a complex maneuver involving speed, timing, and a combination of psychic influence. Kale followed the motions as best he could, feeling every misstep with acute awareness. "You are slow," Alice said sharply. "You need to anticipate, not react." The station's command issued a simulation called the Apex Hunt, a controlled exercise designed to challenge recruits against robotic predators modeled after the galaxy's most dangerous species. Alice had scoffed when she saw him assigned to a team. Humans had no experience with these predators, she believed, and the exercise was meant to humiliate anyone weak. Kale's team entered a massive jungle arena. Tall, bioluminescent trees towered over them, and thick mist hung close to the ground. The predators were cunning, fast, and relentless, and the moment they appeared, chaos erupted. The other recruits panicked at first, their instincts honed for alien combat, not human improvisation. Kale moved calmly. He observed the predators, noting how they stalked, where they hesitated, and how they communicated. When a predator lunged at one of his teammates, Kale used the environment, toppling a tree branch to block its path. Another predator charged from behind, and Kale rolled to the side, narrowly escaping, and lured it into a trap he had spotted moments before. Alice's eyes widened. She had not expected a human to think so quickly. "Impressive," she muttered under her breath, though she did not admit it to him. By the end of the exercise, Kale's team had survived with minimal injury, and the predators were neutralized efficiently. He had saved Alice from a near-fatal ambush, a fact she could not ignore. Her smirk had vanished, replaced by a mixture of irritation and fascination. She began to wonder who this human really was. Kale did not boast. He had learned long ago that humility could be more dangerous than arrogance. Letting the aliens underestimate him gave him freedom to act, and freedom was his greatest weapon. After the drill, Kale walked through the quiet corridors of the station, reflecting on what had happened. He had come expecting to be tested physically, but the real challenge was psychological. The aliens assumed he was inferior, a fact that gave him a hidden edge. He would have to keep that edge, refine it, and use it when the moment truly mattered. Even Alice could not ignore it. Later, she observed him from a distance as he trained alone, moving with precision, setting traps for imaginary predators and analyzing the station's layout. She had never seen a human move like that. There was a spark of brilliance in his movements, a careful thought behind every action. "Maybe he is more than I thought," she whispered to herself, but she refused to admit it aloud. Pride, after all, was a trait the Zelari valued highly. Kale's first week ended with a ceremony for all new recruits. He stood with the others, keeping his head high as the station's commanders addressed the crowd. Aliens of every shape and size gathered, some whispering about the human who had survived the apex hunt. He remained silent, listening, calculating, and observing. He knew the galaxy was full of dangers, and being underestimated could save lives, even his own. As the sun of Violia set behind the station, casting violet shadows through the transparent walls, Kale felt a strange mix of anticipation and calm. The journey ahead would not be easy. Predators, both real and metaphorical, awaited him. But for the first time, he felt that humanity, small and young in the cosmic order, might have a chance to prove itself. And perhaps, one day soon, even the Zelari princess would understand that the human she thought was a mere recruit was someone entirely different, someone who could survive, adapt, and thrive where others might fail. Kale looked toward the stars beyond the station. Earth was far behind, and the galaxy was full of dangers and wonders alike. But for the first time, he allowed himself a quiet smile. He was ready. The station, the aliens, and even the princess had yet to see the full extent of what a human could do. The next morning, Kale arrived at the training arena earlier than usual. The station's artificial sun flooded the open space with pale light, reflecting off the polished floors and casting elongated shadows of the trainees as they moved. Today was different. Today marked the beginning of the Apex Hunt exercise. It was an event that every recruit dreaded, a test meant to separate the elite from the ordinary, designed to push even the strongest to their limits. Kale had prepared as best as he could, reviewing the station's tactical manuals, observing alien movements, and memorizing patterns of their combat simulations. Still, nothing could truly prepare a human for the Apex Hunt. The predators were modeled after creatures known for their cunning, strength, and ferocity. They were designed to mimic real-life threats, but with added layers of unpredictability. The aliens viewed the exercise as a demonstration of superiority, and Kale's human status placed him at a clear disadvantage in their eyes. Princess Alice arrived with her usual air of superiority. Her golden eyes scanned the recruits, lingering on Kale. "You are expected to fail quickly, human," she said, her voice dripping with amusement. "Do not embarrass yourself." The arena doors opened, revealing a massive jungle stretching for miles under the station's dome. Mist clung to the ground, and artificial foliage swayed as though alive. The air was thick with humidity and the scent of exotic plants. Trees towered overhead, some with bark as dark as metal, others glowing faintly from internal bioluminescence. Shadows shifted constantly, hiding potential threats in every corner. A loud chime signaled the beginning of the hunt. From the dense foliage, the first predators emerged. They were terrifying, muscular, scaled beasts with glowing eyes and limbs designed for speed and precision. Their claws dug into the soil, and they moved with a confidence that made Kale's instincts sharpen. Most of the recruits froze or bolted. The aliens were trained, but even their confidence faltered under the predators' realistic simulation. Kale, however, remained calm. He observed the creatures closely, noticing patterns in their hunting behavior. One predator always circled before attacking, while another relied on sudden bursts of speed. Timing, patience, and strategy would be his greatest allies. He gestured to his small team of mixed recruits, signaling them to form a defensive line. "Stay calm and follow my lead," he instructed. "Watch the predators, they have patterns, we just need to exploit them." Yet Kale's calm demeanor and steady gaze compelled them to listen. It was a subtle demonstration of something they could not ignore. Human confidence backed by intelligence. The first predator lunged at one of Kale's teammates, a young Othrian with arms like tree trunks. The brute reacted with instinct, swinging wildly, but Kale had already anticipated the attack. He grabbed a nearby branch and vaulted, tripping the predator just enough to redirect it into a pit trap he had noticed moments before. The Othrian stared in shock. Kale did not pause. There were more predators to deal with. Allie's eyes widened as she witnessed the human's actions. For the first time, she questioned her assumptions. She had underestimated Kale, believing him fragile and inexperienced. But here he was, reading the predator's behavior, manipulating the terrain, and using quick thinking to protect his team. She could feel a strange mix of irritation and fascination. Kale moved with precision, his senses heightened. He noticed subtle signs, a rustle in the mist, a glint of movement behind a tree, the faint vibrations of the predator's steps. Each observation informed his next move. He communicated silently with his team through gestures and eye contact, guiding them through ambushes and dangerous areas. The exercise escalated as more predators emerged. They were faster, smarter, and coordinated. The aliens began to panic, relying on raw strength instead of strategy. Kale seized the opportunity. He led his team into a narrow canyon, forcing the predators to funnel in single file. Using vines and debris, he created makeshift snares that caught several of the predators off guard. Alice followed cautiously, her curiosity growing. She had been trained to excel in combat, to anticipate danger, and to rely on instinct. Yet Kale's approach was different. He combined observation with foresight, adapting instantly to changing circumstances. There was an elegance in his movements, a clarity of purpose that the princess could not ignore. During a particularly tense moment, one predator leapt from above, targeting Alice herself. Kale reacted without hesitation. He sprinted forward, catching the creature's limb midair and redirecting it into a reinforced tree trunk. The predator struggled, giving Alice just enough time to regain her footing. She stared at him, caught between astonishment and embarrassment. "Not bad, human," she muttered under her breath. She did not say it aloud. Admitting admiration publicly would be beneath her dignity, but she could not deny the truth. Kale had saved her, and in doing so, revealed a level of skill she had not expected from a human recruit. The hunt continued for hours. Kale's team worked like a well-oiled machine under his guidance. He set traps, predicted predator movements, and improvised when the terrain presented new challenges. The other recruits began to follow his lead, realizing that brute force alone was insufficient. Kale's human ingenuity was turning the tide. By the end of the exercise, Kale's team emerged as the only group to complete the hunt with minimal injuries. The predators were neutralized and the arena was declared cleared. His teammates cheered quietly, still processing the fact that a human had guided them to success. Alice approached him afterward, her expression unreadable. "You were competent," she said finally, "more than I expected." "That's all anyone can do in a situation like this." Whispers circulated among the recruits and trainers alike. A human had succeeded where many aliens struggled. Some questioned if Kale had been enhanced in ways the station had not revealed. Others speculated that Earth had more to offer than anyone realized. Kale remained quiet amidst the chatter. He had learned long ago that humility and patience were powerful allies. Letting the aliens underestimate him would give him freedom to act when it mattered most. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, and survival required more than brute strength. It required cunning, observation, and the ability to adapt. That evening, Kale returned to the observation deck, overlooking the glowing clouds of Violia. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the station, each one a potential threat, a potential opportunity. He allowed himself a moment of reflection. The apex hunt had been a test, but it was only the beginning. The real challenges were still ahead, waiting in the vast reaches of space. Alice appeared beside him, silently observing. She did not speak, but her presence was significant. She had seen the human's abilities firsthand and knew that she had misjudged him. Pride kept her from admitting it, but curiosity lingered in her eyes. Kale did not address it, understanding that recognition would come in its own time. The week ended with debriefings and assessments. Trainers praised Kale's strategic thinking, his calm under pressure, and his ability to lead a team effectively. His name began to circulate among the station's higher ranks as a recruit who had exceeded expectations in every metric. Yet Kale remained grounded. He knew the galaxy was full of challenges far greater than a controlled exercise. The apex hunt had revealed one truth. Humans were underestimated, and underestimation could be a weapon more powerful than any blade or energy cannon. Late at night, Kale returned to his quarters. He removed his uniform and examined his reflection. The enhancements beneath his surface were subtle but powerful, a reminder of the potential that humans carried within them. Earth had sent him here as a representative, but he was learning that survival in this galaxy required more than training. It required thinking differently, acting decisively, and refusing to be constrained by others' expectations. Sleep came fitfully. His mind replayed the day's events, analyzing every movement, every predator's tactic, every alien's reaction. Even in rest, Kale's mind was active, preparing, learning, and refining strategies for challenges he had not yet faced. The apex hunt had been a lesson in observation, adaptability, and leadership, skills that would be tested again, in situations far more dangerous than this simulation. As the station lights dimmed and the artificial night settled, Kale allowed himself one quiet thought. Humanity, underestimated and overlooked, might just have an edge the galaxy did not see coming. And when the true threats arrived, when predators were no longer simulations, he would be ready. The station had barely returned to routine when alarms began to blare. Red lights pulsed through the corridors, casting sharp shadows on the walls. Kale was in the training area reviewing notes from the apex hunt when the loudspeaker crackled. Emergency! Unknown life forms have breached the outer perimeter. All personnel move to defensive positions. Repeat, unknown life forms have breached the station. This was no simulation. The predators from the apex hunt were only practice, but these were real. Somewhere beyond the station's shields, creatures designed to hunt and kill had entered. Their size, strength, and intelligence were unknown, and their motives were simple: survival, domination, and the hunt. He grabbed his gear, an energy blade, a lightweight combat suit, and a compact blaster, and ran toward the command center. The corridors were crowded with panicked trainees, aliens of every species moving frantically. Some froze in terror, others attempted to organize themselves, but chaos dominated. Kale took a deep breath and focused. Panic was a predator's greatest ally, and he would not give it 1 inch. Princess Alice appeared around the corner, her scales glinting under the emergency lights. Her expression was tense, but her golden eyes locked on Kale. "We need a plan," she said sharply. "The creatures are too strong for direct confrontation. Even the Othrians are struggling. We need to predict their behavior, use the station's layout, and coordinate our strengths. We survive through strategy, not brute force." They moved through the corridors, rallying groups of recruits and assigning them tasks. Kale analyzed the creatures' movements, noting patterns that even the most seasoned alien soldiers had missed. One predator was using vents to move silently, another was testing doors and forcing entry. Kale quickly mapped out likely approaches, setting traps and defensive positions along their path. "Reinforce the north corridor with energy barriers," he ordered. "2 recruits here, 3 there. Keep the predators confined until we can strike." He thought like a hunter and a strategist at the same time, using instincts honed by both training and enhancement. The first predator struck near the central hub. It moved like a blur, its claws slicing through the air, eyes glowing with a predatory light. Kale had anticipated this. He triggered a trap, releasing a cascade of nets embedded with energy pulses. The predator roared, caught mid-strike, thrashing and snarling. The team moved in using combined alien strength and Kale's tactical guidance to neutralize it. Alice watched in awe. He was not just surviving, he was orchestrating the defense, turning chaos into order. She had never seen such precision from a human, and yet he remained calm, never showing fear, only focus. The predators were relentless. More emerged from vents, cargo bays, and even from the station's lower decks. Kale's team adapted, splitting into smaller units to cover multiple threats. He moved from group to group, giving instructions, setting traps, and improvising new strategies as the creatures learned from each encounter. "Use the environmental controls," Kale shouted. "Seal off the corridors behind us. Force them into narrow passageways." Energy barriers, automated turrets, and cleverly placed traps allowed his small human-led team to hold ground against beasts that could have destroyed the entire station. One particularly massive predator, its scales nearly impervious to energy weapons, charged directly at the command center. Kale calculated the trajectory, anticipating its speed and likely impact point. He grabbed a reinforced console panel, creating a makeshift barricade. As the creature slammed into it, he rolled to the side, catching the predator in a temporary stun net he had rigged moments earlier. It roared in fury, thrashing violently, but the trap held long enough for the team to immobilize it completely. Alice approached him, panting slightly from the effort. "You're extraordinary," she said quietly. "I didn't think a human could do this." He noticed subtle signs that the predators were intelligent. They began coordinating attacks, feinting, and testing the recruits' reactions. He realized they were learning from every encounter. This was no longer a simple defense, it was a battle of wits. "Split into 3 units, Kale commanded. Flank them from the west and east corridors. Use diversion tactics. Lead them toward the central containment area. I'll handle the main force here." Kale's mind raced constantly, calculating probabilities, predicting predator movements, and adjusting strategies on the fly. He moved like a conductor, directing the chaos with unerring precision. The predators were fierce, but they were also predictable in their instincts. Kale exploited every weakness, every hesitation, and every moment of overconfidence. At one point, a predator broke through a reinforced door, targeting a group of trainees who had panicked. Kale reacted instantly, diving into its path, using his strength and reflexes to redirect its attack. He rolled aside, leaving the creature to stumble into a pit trap he had previously prepared. The trainees stared at him in shock, realizing for the first time that the human was not just a participant, he was a leader. Princess Alice could not hide her amazement. She had been trained to handle any threat, yet Kale's approach was entirely different. He combined intelligence, speed, and creativity in a way she had never seen. His human perspective was unpredictable, and in a battle of life and death, unpredictability was a powerful weapon. As night fell under the station's artificial lights, the predators began to retreat, injured, trapped, or neutralized. Kale surveyed the battlefield, noting the damage to the station and the status of his team. Miraculously, there were minimal casualties. His tactics had saved countless lives, both human and alien. Alice approached him once more. "I misjudged you," she admitted quietly, her usual pride tempered by respect. "I thought you were weak, just another recruit, but you are something else entirely." "That's all that matters." Every move, every decision, every trap had been calculated, yet he knew the galaxy held challenges far greater than this. That night, Kale returned to the observation deck once more. The stars stretched endlessly before him, each one a reminder that the universe was vast, dangerous, and full of unknowns. The apex hunt had been a test, but the real predators were out there waiting. And humanity, underestimated and overlooked, had proven that it could survive and even thrive against odds that many thought impossible. Alice joined him silently. She did not speak, but her presence spoke volumes. She had witnessed something remarkable, something that challenged every assumption she had about humans. Kale did not need to say anything. Trust and respect had been earned in the heat of battle. Kale looked toward the distant stars and allowed himself a quiet thought. The galaxy was dangerous, but humans had an edge that no one had predicted. Ingenuity, adaptability, and courage could turn the tide even against the strongest predators. And when the next challenge arrived, they would be ready. The station was quiet for only a short time. Kale had barely finished inspecting the damages from the predator attack when the alarms blared again, sharper and more urgent than before. The red lights flashed across the walls, and the entire structure trembled slightly, as if the station itself was bracing for impact. "This isn't a simulation," Kale said quietly, scanning the monitors. The previous predators had been a trial, a test of skill, and now something far more dangerous was approaching. "They've adapted. They've learned from the last encounter." "We underestimated them," she admitted. "We need every able soldier and recruit ready. If these creatures breach the core, the station could fall." Each could be used as a choke point, a trap, or an escape route. Kale had studied the layout during the earlier drills and apex hunt, memorizing every detail. That knowledge now became their greatest weapon. He quickly assembled a strike team of humans and aliens, including Alice. "We'll split into 3 groups," he said. "I'll take the central corridors. Alice, lead your team to the north perimeter. Others cover the east and west sectors. Keep in contact, observe patterns, and react to every move the predators make." Still, she followed his orders without hesitation, and the recruits sensed that Kale's confidence was real, unwavering. The first wave of predators struck the north perimeter, larger and more aggressive than before. Their claws raked through doors, and their glowing eyes scanned for movement. Kale's team was ready. Using barriers, energy nets, and calculated diversions, they funneled the predators into narrow passageways, where even the strongest could not move freely. The strategy worked, slowing the creatures and buying time for other teams. Kale moved like a shadow, observing and adapting. One predator attempted to flank from a ventilation shaft. Kale predicted its path and set a trap using an automated maintenance drone, which the predator stumbled into, triggering a small explosion that temporarily stunned it. He continued forward, leading his team deeper into the station, always watching, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Meanwhile, Alice and her team faced their own challenges. One predator lunged at her from a dark corner, faster than any she had encountered before. Her reflexes alone might have been enough, but Kale's earlier advice rang in her mind. Anticipate patterns, use the environment, and never act blindly. She kicked a support beam at the predator, sending it crashing into the wall and disorienting it. Her team followed her lead, attacking as a unit rather than individually. Kale's voice echoed through the comm system. Allies, redirect the eastern patrol toward the cargo bay. Use the doors and narrow hallways to create bottlenecks. Force them into predictable paths. The battle stretched on for hours. The predators were relentless, adapting to each tactic and learning from every encounter. Kale realized they were intelligent enough to anticipate some of their own mistakes, forcing him to constantly revise strategies. The station's architecture became both battlefield and ally, every vent, corridor, and maintenance shaft a potential advantage or danger. At one point, a massive predator charged directly at Kale's central team. Its claws ripped through energy barriers, and its roar reverberated through the corridors. Kale acted instantly. He grabbed a portable barrier, vaulting it into the predator's path to slow it down. Then, using the creature's momentum, he triggered an overhead hatch, causing heavy cargo to fall onto its back. The predator struggled under the weight, allowing Kale's team to immobilize it with energy restraints. Alice watched the maneuver from a distance, realizing that Kale's calmness and anticipation were key to their survival. He was not relying on raw strength or speed. He was using intellect, observation, and adaptability. Humanity, she thought, had a resilience and ingenuity that few alien species could match, but the battle was far from over. The predators began coordinating in small groups, testing the station's defenses and attempting to isolate teams. Kale noticed this immediately. "They're learning," he warned over the comms. "Expect coordinated strikes. Split forces to flank us, but don't engage until we can control the environment. Focus on traps, not direct confrontation." He landed directly in the path of the creature, pushing it into a narrow corridor where its size became a disadvantage. Using his enhanced reflexes, he dodged its attacks and redirected it toward a preset trap. The predator fell into the containment pit with a deafening roar. Kale's team advanced, clearing room after room, sealing doors and setting traps to slow the predator's advance. Alice led the northern team with similar precision, and together their coordinated efforts began to push the creatures back. Each predator neutralized was a small victory, but Kale knew the fight was not just about survival. It was about sending a message. Humanity could survive and even excel in the face of overwhelming odds. During a brief lull, Kale and Alice regrouped near the command center. The station had taken heavy damage, and the corridors were littered with debris and scorch marks. Kale studied the map again, analyzing predator patterns and likely next moves. "They're concentrating on the core," he observed. "If they breach it, we lose power and containment. We can't let that happen." "Your mind works differently, creatively, strategically. It's impressive." They set traps that collapsed ceilings, electrified corridors, and redirected predators into containment zones. Each move was calculated, precise, and efficient. The predators were intelligent, but Kale's foresight gave them the advantage. During one intense confrontation, a massive predator broke through a reinforced wall, charging directly at Alice and her team. Kale assessed the situation from the command center balcony. He calculated the creature's speed and trajectory, then directed a series of automated turrets to fire in a coordinated sequence. The predator staggered, but it was still a threat. Without hesitation, Kale sprinted down the corridor, using his speed and reflexes to intercept the creature. He rolled under its claws, vaulted over debris, and used a high-powered cable to trip it. The creature crashed into a pile of crates, immobilized long enough for Ali's team to finish the containment. The battle had pushed everyone to their limits. Recruits and veterans alike were exhausted, yet Kale's calm leadership kept them focused. Every victory, every maneuver, every trap reinforced a single truth. Strategy, adaptability, and courage could overcome brute strength, even against apex predators. As the station began to stabilize, Kale surveyed the aftermath. The predators were trapped, injured, or neutralized, and the station's defenses held. Casualties had been minimal considering the scale of the assault, a testament to Kale's planning and leadership. Alice approached him once more, her golden eyes reflecting both relief and awe. "You've done what none of us thought possible. You've turned chaos into order, danger into strategy. I misjudged you completely. Because we worked together, it doesn't matter what anyone thought beforehand, only what we do in the moment counts." Kale's calm intelligence, combined with human ingenuity and adaptability, had not only saved the station, but also proved that humanity could stand as equals in a galaxy filled with dangers far beyond comprehension. That night, Kale returned to the observation deck. The stars of Violia stretched endlessly before him, glowing softly against the dark void of space. He allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. The predators had been fierce, intelligent, and relentless, but humanity had prevailed. And not because of sheer strength, but because of adaptability, strategy, and courage, qualities that could outmatch even the deadliest creatures the galaxy had to offer. Alice joined him silently, standing at his side as they looked out into the void. There were no words necessary. Trust had been forged in battle, respect earned in fire. Kale knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast and threats would continue to rise. But humanity, underestimated for centuries, had proven that it could survive and even thrive against challenges that others might deem impossible. For the first time, Alice considered a truth she had never faced before. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They were clever, adaptable, and capable of remarkable feats. And the human standing beside her, calm and observant, had shown her exactly what that meant. The galaxy would take notice soon enough. The station's corridors were eerily silent after the predator attacks, but Kale knew better than to trust that calm. The creatures had been fierce, smart, and relentless, and some might still be lurking, testing weaknesses, waiting for a chance to strike again. Every shadow, every sound could be a threat. He moved with the same focus he had maintained since arriving at the station, scanning, predicting, and analyzing. Princess Alice followed closely, her golden eyes sharp and alert. She had learned to trust him completely, not just because he had survived every test, but because he thought differently, acted differently, and saw the world in a way no alien could. Humanity, she realized, had an unpredictability and ingenuity that gave it a unique edge. Kale gathered the strike teams once more. "We're not finished," he said firmly. "There may still be predators inside. Our goal is simple. We clear the station, protect the civilians, and secure the core. Nothing else matters. Move with precision, follow the plan, and adapt as necessary." Kale knew that leadership was more than orders. It was earning trust, earning respect, and showing that every action mattered. The first corridor they cleared had signs of a predator hiding, its claws gouging the walls and traces of energy acid dripping from its fangs. Kale studied the patterns carefully. "They move in packs," he explained. "Predictable in groups, unpredictable individually. We isolate them, control the environment, and use every advantage the station gives us." Every room, every vent, every maintenance tunnel had been analyzed, and he used it to create traps and choke points that would funnel the creatures into controlled zones. The first wave struck in the cargo bay. Two predators larger than any Kale had seen leapt from the shadows with terrifying speed. Kale's team split into formation. "Trap doors open on my mark," he shouted. Timing was perfect. The floor panels dropped beneath the creatures, sending them into containment pits reinforced with energy nets. The predators roared and struggled, but the traps held. Alice and her team joined, combining their alien abilities with Kale's strategies. The predators were smart, but they lacked the ability to anticipate human ingenuity. Kale exploited that advantage fully, directing teams to create ambushes and using the station's architecture as a weapon. Hours passed, and the battle escalated. The predators were relentless, but Kale's strategy became more daring. He led small units to lure predators into narrow corridors and then collapsed overhead panels or triggered automated barriers to trap them. Each maneuver required split-second timing and absolute trust from the team. At one point, a massive predator, its scales nearly impervious to energy weapons, charged at the central command hub. Kale calculated its trajectory instantly. He sprinted ahead, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dodge massive claws, vault over debris, and plant high-intensity energy charges along the walls. As the predator lunged, the charges detonated in sequence, forcing it into a narrow passage where it could be trapped and neutralized. Alice watched in awe as Kale orchestrated the maneuver. The combination of human foresight and alien strength was unmatched. He was not only fighting for survival, he was demonstrating the potential of humanity to adapt and excel in ways the galaxy had never expected. The final predators had retreated to the maintenance tunnels beneath the station. Kale knew this would be the hardest fight. The tunnels were tight, dark, and dangerous, perfect hunting grounds for creatures designed to ambush. But it was also an opportunity. He had studied the tunnels during downtime and had set multiple traps in anticipation of this moment. He led a small strike team into the tunnels, carefully checking every corner, listening for the faintest sounds. A hiss echoed from above, then a growl. Two predators lunged from a side passage. Kale reacted instantly, dodging one's claws and using a reinforced cable to trip the other. Sparks flew as energy blades met tough scales, and Kale's teammates moved in to restrain the creatures. "Keep moving, don't give them room to strike," he shouted. His voice was calm, commanding, and precise, guiding every action with clarity. The predators attacked again and again, but Kale anticipated each move, using the environment, traps, and timing to neutralize every threat. During the most intense moment, one predator lunged at Ali's. Kale intercepted, rolling into the creature's path and redirecting it into a containment pit he had rigged moments earlier. Ali stayed close, her golden eyes wide with both fear and respect. She realized fully that the human she had once thought weak had saved her life countless times. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the last predator was contained. Kale activated the station's full security lockdown, sealing every access point and ensuring that no threat remained. The station was safe. Exhausted but alive, Kale and Ali's gathered the teams in the central atrium. The recruits, humans and aliens alike, cheered quietly, still processing the sheer scale of what had just happened. Kale stood silently, surveying the scene, noting the damage, the survivors, and the potential for future threats. This was more than victory. It was proof that strategy, ingenuity, and adaptability could triumph over raw power and instinct. Ali stepped forward. "You've done what none of us thought possible," she said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. "You've led us through chaos and danger, and you've done it with skill, courage, and foresight. I misjudged you. I misjudged humanity." Survival requires thought, observation, and the willingness to act decisively. They were capable of extraordinary feats when circumstances demanded, and Kale had shown that in every move, every decision, and every moment of the battle. The station slowly returned to order. Engineers repaired damages, medical teams treated the wounded, and the recruits rested. Kale walked through the corridors, quietly checking on the teams, ensuring that everything was secure. Everywhere he went, he noticed the respect in the eyes of those who had doubted him. Some still whispered about the human who had led the fight, about his calmness, skill, and unorthodox strategies. Ali's joined him on the observation deck once more, overlooking the stars of Violia. The planet below shimmered in soft purples and blues, and the lights of the station reflected off the clouds. "You've changed everything," she said quietly. "Not just for us, but for how humans will be seen in the galaxy. Then perhaps this is the beginning of something new. Humanity may be young in the stars, but we've seen the edge they carry. I think the galaxy will remember this day." It was intelligence, adaptability, courage, and unity. And humans, underestimated though they were, had shown all of these qualities in abundance. As the station settled into its new rhythm, Kale allowed himself a moment of reflection. He had come as a recruit, underestimated by everyone, including the Zelari princess who had been assigned to mentor him. He had faced simulated predators, real apex predators, and chaotic battle conditions that would have overwhelmed most. Yet humanity had triumphed, not through overwhelming force, but through ingenuity and adaptability. Ali stood silently beside him, a symbol of the respect and trust that had been earned. She had watched a human lead, survive, and excel where others had failed. And she knew without doubt that the galaxy would never view humanity the same way again. The station's systems hummed, repairs were underway, and the recruits were beginning to train again. But something fundamental had changed. The galaxy had witnessed what humans were capable of. Kale had proven that being underestimated was not a weakness, it was an advantage to be wielded. Looking out at the stars, Kale allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. Humanity had survived, humanity had led, and humanity had shown the galaxy exactly why it could never be ignored. Ali's finally spoke, her voice soft but firm. "Stay with me, Kale. Help me guide this station, this fleet, this galaxy. Humanity and the stars are stronger together than alone." But Kale knew one thing for certain. Underestimated or not, humans had earned their place among the stars. And with courage, ingenuity, and heart, there was nothing they could not overcome. The stars twinkled like distant fires, silent witnesses to the triumph of human spirit. And somewhere deep inside, Kale smiled, ready for whatever came next.